One of the greatest rewards of stepping towards my truth is finding like-minded souls along the way who are doing the same. I met Aimee Blair years ago as we were mentoring other creatives in an online community, and we've supported each other ever since as we raise our kids and grow our creative businesses. Aimee is an intuitive artist, teacher, creativity coach, and certified art medicine practitioner. In this conversation, we dive into the power of creating space for ourselves. You'll hear about Aimee's process of making and publishing her coloring book, and how to take small steps towards your dreams. Watching Aimee complete her gorgeous coloring book inspired me to keep moving forward with my own book. Welcome back, everyone. I am here with my friend Aimee Blair, and this is our third conversation, right, that we've recorded. So
Yeah,
I've
at
loved
least.
all of them. And yeah, I'm looking forward to what comes forward during this talk. Um, Before we get
When,
started, do you wanna share about
yes,
kind of what you're up to in the world?
sure. First of all, always delightful to talk with you, Stacy. You and I talk a lot, and it's always insightful and yeah, great to share your energy. So thank you for inviting me onto your retreat. And I'm Aimee Blair. I'm the host of a community called Creative Compass. It's an online community for creatives and creative explorers. We focus on intuitive art and recently launched a new offering called Intuitive Art School for those who want to go a little bit deeper into the world of intuition and creativity.
Mm, yes, I love that. So when I was creating this book, you came through for this whole section about creating space.
Mm.
And you have children, you've launched this school within your motherhood journey. You know, I know, yeah, we check in with each other, and I know how much you have going on in the background, and yet just the way that you continue to show up for your work, there's so much devotion and consistency, right? Like that's something I struggle with, and I'm always looking to you like, how are you doing it? And just with so much respect for the way you show up for your work and your community that you've created. Is there anything that you want to share about how you do that, how you create space for yourself within the chaos of everyday life?
Sure. Well, first, I do want to let our viewers know that my kids are older than your kids. So the chaos grounds a little bit when they get a little bit older. It doesn't end, it just kind of morphs into other things. But
Yep.
uh, yes. For me, really, if I really, first of all, I would say that claiming space for my creativity just in general was a journey of a million baby steps. It started with me saying, this corner of the dining room table is where I'm going to put my tiny box of art supplies. And over a decade, roughly, has turned into this room of the house is where I'm going to, make my art and run my business. And, kind of center my creativities. And there was a lot of tiny steps along the way from this corner of the table to this whole room of my house. And it was partially, me being able to claim what I needed and partially, my family's needs changing over time. So I love to encourage people to just really ground in like, what can I do right now?
Hmm.
Even if it's not the dream, if it's I would love to have a big, beautiful studio that is not in my house, but that's not what is reality right now. It doesn't mean I can never have that, but it means so it's like the yes and of like, yes, have your big audacious dream of your ideal creative space and also keep making art right now with what you have. That's, where I like to encourage people to like hold both of those things. Like, what is the dream and what is true right now? Because otherwise, the dream can become the block that keeps us from creating, which sounds counterintuitive, but, creative resistance is sneaky. And, it can even take the form of, a dream.
That, yeah, no, that's so true. It's interesting you say that because lately it's like, we all have these big dreams and all it's like this all or nothing sneakiness of the resistance.
Yeah.
Where
Hmm.
and like there's moments where like one of my dreams is shooting video with my husband and it's like right now we're squeezing it in between all the other things. And instead of looking at like, oh, I wish we were doing this full time, it's this message I keep getting is like, well, you're living the dream right now, even though it's being squeezed in, like you're living it. And like for me, what helps is actually noticing the moments where that dream is in front of me now. It's like starting to integrate into my
Yeah.
life. And it's like it's very easy to overlook that. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's like that's how it starts kind of taking root in our life, right? When we just like acknowledge those little moments where it's like, oh, I might be at the dining room table, but I'm creating right now, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. We think it has to look a certain way, and it definitely doesn't.
Yes. And I feel like even when the dream comes to fruition, like it will still be different than what we
Right.
expected.
Always. Yeah. Always, definitely.
Yeah.
And when so you and I have talked about, well, you were there, you witnessed when I wrote and published the coloring book that we're going to talk about. It was COVID, and making space was a really unique challenge to that time. And so if you want to talk about that, I can, walk you through
Yeah.
how that played out.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
when I think about that time, like what the memory that hits me the most is, I mean, I was at that time I was really deep into like my painting practice. I was kind of new to painting, and I was like all in on intuitive painting and at my easel with my paints. And then COVID happened, and all of a sudden I had three kids doing school from home. Oh, we all remember that. And I had to, figure out how to buy groceries and all the things we were all trying to figure out how to work from home, how to teach my kids from home. And there was just no way that I was going to get painting time at my easel. Every room in my house had either an adult working or a child doing school. And so there was no space. And at the time, thank goodness I was in a circle of creatives. You were there too. We were both in the same circle with a mentor and a community of creatives. And I remember um, being on a Zoom call with our mentor and saying to her, I think I need to quit. Like, I think I need to step out of this circle. It's too much. There's too much going on. And she posed the question to me, like, let's take a deep breath and
Hmm.
just ask me the question, how could you keep going now?
Mm.
Because you
Oh.
probably can't, like, it probably can't look the way it looked before the world closed. How could it look? And so that's that question really stuck with me. And it's a question I ask people in my community a lot who I'm working with. Like when you can't have, like we were talking about, you can't have that whole big, beautiful dream for whatever. And I know, we're not in a global shutdown anymore, but if a health condition comes up or a new baby, or if you're caretaking, like there's so many, situations that we don't expect that come up in life, and we feel like we can't continue with like our own creative work. But if we ask that question, how can I, like, what could it look like? What can I do right now? And so when I dropped into that question, what came up for me was drawing, which was really like my first creative love was drawing. I came to painting later in life, and drawing is simple. You don't need a lot of materials. You don't need a lot of space. You can pick it up and put it down. Unlike, you put paint on your palette and then paint
Right.
runs and, before you know it and all that. So I was like, well, maybe I'll just do some drawing. That feels, maybe it's doable. And
Hmm.
so I started just doing these very simple pencil drawings in between, getting my kids on Zoom for school or all the things. And um, I showed a couple of them to, I think to our, the mentor we were working with in that circle at the time. And she said, wow, those look like coloring book pages. Have you ever thought about, making coloring sheets and maybe offering them? At the time, I was just starting gathering like a little Facebook group and a little creative community together. And Um, she was, we were like, yeah, coloring really supports people's mental health, in this time. Maybe it could be something you offer that supports people.
Mhm.
So I had this notion of like, I'll just make a couple of cool coloring sheets and then I'll just offer them for free to anyone who thinks they could support their mental health right now. And, um, and the more as I did a few, I was like, I don't think these are just one-off coloring sheets. I think they go together. Like there were some common threads and themes of like the images that were coming through
Mm.
and eventually was like, I think this might be a book. And that was such a foreign idea to me that like I might be creating a book. And
Yeah.
um, so it's just, I know, this isn't always the way my process worked, but in this case, it was, I started doing the work first and then the structure came in. Sometimes we start with the structure or we think we have to start with the structure and then the work comes next, but it really worked the opposite way in this case. And yeah, so um, that was how that was, how that worked, how that started.
I love that story so much. And what I really love is that initial question, because I think there's so many times we feel like quitting on ourselves, on our creativity, because we have that dream, right? And just asking that question, like if you're listening to this and you find yourself in that position right now where life isn't what you expected, you can't even process like how you'll have time to create, really asking that question, like, what would it look like if I did? How could I still, in this moment? And what I found too with when I made this book as well, it was like I did the work first. I was constantly writing poems and doing drawings, and that was just my way to process life.
Yeah.
Like
Hmm.
I wasn't like, this is a poem for a book I'm going to make. Like that energy is, I would not have been able to handle that. And so I love that you were creating this from a space of like what you needed, like this just honesty around what you needed in that moment. And then it became something. And it's like because you found this way to serve yourself within this crisis, right? Like it's so easy to just throw out creativity. That's like the first thing that
So
goes.
easy. Yeah.
But what happens if we made space for it within that chaos? And what would it give us? I am curious. I've never asked you this, but how did all of this creative work affect your family? Like, when you were working at the table, when you were doing these drawings, like, did it have an impact on your family?
That's such a funny question. The nature of like just working on drawing, it was so like I'd pick it up for 5 minutes when there was downtime and put it down and pick it up again. I did a lot. I don't know anyone out there who was doing Zoom school during those years. Like there was a lot of like nobody needed me, but they needed me to be available in case they needed me. Like,
Yes.
Mom, the Zoom went down, or like there was a lot of that. So there was a lot of like being in waiting, but not needing to be hands-on with any
Yeah.
kids. So those were the moments when I would grab I had like a clipboard that was just with me all the time with
Mm.
with a
Yeah.
drawing on it, and uh, I often like every drawing I did in pencil first, and then I went over with like micron pen. And
Okay.
so I always had like one that I was drawing and one that I was like doing the ink over because that was even a little less required, like a little like I'd have a little more focus on what was going on and
Yes.
just be like, I'm just going over this with ink right now. So depending on how much capacity I had,
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
I could pick up a different part of the process. And I don't know if my kids even noticed, to be honest, because they were so involved in their own thing. But so if you've seen the art in the coloring book, they're feminine, they're images of it's called feminine forms, and they're all images of women. And I have this just funny story. So my kids just got used to like always seeing me drawing these, and one of my daughters, my youngest, who got at the time was 5 or 6, would refer to them as my ladies. Like, are you making your ladies?
Oh.
And at one point, whenever the world was at a point where we could have like people outside together, one of my kids was playing in the backyard with a friend, and I was sitting in a chair drawing. And the child said, "What's your mom doing?" And my daughter said, "Probably drawing naked ladies." She's always doing that. I was like, I'm not always drawing naked ladies, but
Right, there's more things going on in these images.
there are more things that I do. But that was just, yeah, mom, she's probably drawing naked ladies. That's
Yes, there's some naked ladies in my book as well.
it just, you know,
Yes,
it was so normal for her by then. Like that's just
right.
what she's doing.
Yeah, I love that. Actually, do you have some of the drawings? Could you show us like some of your original
Yeah,
art
I
pieces?
mean, I have my copy of the book here, the finished book, and I also have this this is just like all of the originals that I did, including the ones that didn't end up making it into the book, which we can talk about that also, how that
Mhm.
process. But um I don't know, which one do you want to see? Let me
Yeah, I know. Just
here.
anyone calling.
This is one of my favorites, and it is in the book. It might be the first one in the book. It's like a woman with a pitcher
Mm.
of water. And yeah, she came in like really early in the process. I think I drew her before I even knew I was drawing a book or what
Mm.
I was doing. And she just had this like flowy water energy.
It's funny because I almost picked that one for this event as like a little sample page for people. Because yes, oh, that well, and that's it. It's like your creativity fills you up, and then you have all this extra love and energy to just
To pour out.
overflow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. So that's with the micron pen on top.
Yes.
And then did
Yeah.
you erase the lines when you were finished?
I did erase, like if you look closely, you can see some of them, but I erased, yes, I did go back with an eraser
Okay.
after
And then
I painted.
technically speaking, did you scan them? Did you photograph them?
I scanned them.
Okay.
Yes.
What program did you use in case anyone's interested in doing like the same? These are, I mean, yeah, they're gorgeous.
I did not use anything that didn't like come free on my Microsoft suite on my
Perfect.
computer. I didn't use any specialized technology. I used what I had, which was you know, just the standard like Microsoft Office PDF maker.
Okay. It worked. It's it's all beautiful. Well, and okay, so that's a good time. We could talk about, how did you deal with that like it's fun, it's all fun and games when you're drawing the images and you're like, I don't know what this is gonna be. And then how
Mhm.
do you deal with like that perfectionism and that precious feeling when, the book started taking shape and you're like going through all your images?
Yeah, you're so right about that. Like you're right on the money. Like when it's just like I'm just drawing because drawing makes me feel better and life is stressful right now. And
Right.
then once it's like, oh my God, I'm making a book that other people might look at. Then like that's when the critic comes in, right? And is like, wait,
Mhm.
and yeah, so I definitely dealt with that a lot. And what I remember like the wisdom that came in really early on in my process once I like realized what I was doing, that I was making a book was I remember just hearing like make a lot. Like
Mhm.
make so many drawings that you could never possibly put them all in the book. And so that each it kind of took the pressure off that like each one had to be great.
Mhm.
Like make a lot so that there's space to make bad ones. And
Yeah.
for those of you who are, more writers than drawers, like the same, like if you're writing poems or if you're just write like every word that you write doesn't have to make the final cut. Just like write a lot, draw a lot, and then you know, that takes the pressure off, or it did for me. For me, that really took the pressure off of like every time I approached a blank page, being
Mhm.
like, it has to be great. It's gonna go in the book. Don't make a
Yes.
bad one. Don't waste a piece of
Right.
paper. It was like, I'm just gonna make a lot of drawings, and some of them are gonna be good, and some of them are gonna be not as good, and
Yes.
some of them are gonna be perfect for this book, and some of them are not gonna be, and that's also fine. And
Yeah.
in the end, in the, year and a half or of COVID, however long it was, I think I made almost 100 drawings because I was doing almost like one a day at once I got into a flow.
Oh my.
And I think, I don't know, the final book has maybe 25. I don't I
Yeah.
don't remember if I counted 25, 30. I'm sure I knew at one point.
Wow.
So more of them did not go into the book than did in the end. So that was, yeah, that was what helped me.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, that right there, I think is the reason to just keep creating no matter what. Like to always be creating some body of work. And then, yeah, I think I had the same thing with my book, with my poems and my drawings. It was like there were so many, but that was such a good place to be in because then I could really pick the best ones. And yeah, like giving yourself permission when you go to that blank page that, it doesn't have to be perfect. And also like I never have to show this to anyone. Like
Yeah, yeah.
stuff I shared in this book, I was never planning on showing. And so it's just like
Same.
so real. So, it's so honest. And know that like you could down the road show it when it's time and you're ready. So there's so much there about like what, yeah, just that devotion and showing up. And so my next question would be, you have all these drawings, you had the
Mhm.
accurate drawings. How do you begin to bring it, like not refine, but just like pick the ones that actually went into the book? What was that like?
Yeah, that was like that's like the flip side of the coin of make a lot is then you have to just like if you're for our gardeners out there when you plant seeds, sometimes you have to, feed out thin out the seedlings so that the biggest ones can grow and bloom. And so what I remember is that I had them all spread out on my living room floor and it covered like my whole living room floor.
Mm.
And I was like, how am I going to do this? And what I remember like just dropping into was the temptation was there to like let my thinking brain run the show and be like, well, this one's not really your best. And like her nose looks funny and
Hmm.
this one's not centered perfectly. Um, but it pretty like soon I was like, okay, that's not gonna work. That's not how we're doing this. It just has to be intuition guided.
Hmm.
And in the end, it wasn't about like which ones were like, quote, my best work or, the
Yeah.
technically better drawings. It was about like, what is the energy that is going to make this book complete?
Mm.
And so I really just kind of tried to like take the quick hit, like that one, not that one, that one, not that one. And it got a little as it was getting down. Once I think I must have picked a number. I must have decided on a number that I was going to land
Hmm.
on. And then when it came really down to the wire, when it was like, all right, I have 30 and I need 25 or whatever it was, that was when I let like the thinking, like the critic and the thinking brain come in a little bit more and be like, yeah, like that one's probably better. Or,
Yeah. No, I
or
can see
that one's
that.
like,
Mhm.
into all things being equal in my intuition, like that's when I let the critic have a little voice and be like,
Yes.
pick the best ones out of these. So
Yeah, no, I had a similar process with mine. It was like when it was time to actually go through the poems and match up the drawings, I'm like, how can I get in the most relaxed state of mind where I'm the most connected to like the earth, the great mother, my intuition, and then go from there with that. And yeah, I was like feeling like the energy of this one or this one would call. And it was the most I've ever trusted. All of that was in that refining process. I love that you let your intuition guide you. And then, yeah, and then it was time at the end to bring in the logic. And yeah, and that's where I always picture like taking it from like a 7 or 8 to a 9 or 10, right? That
yeah, right.
little
That
shift.
last 5%.
Yeah. Thank you, logical mind.
Right.
Awesome. Okay. Do you want to show some of the pages just after looking at that one with the water? Are there,
Sure.
I'm going to look through this
Um,
too and see if there's any.
so the last piece that came in my process after I realized I was making a coloring book and I was drawing these images for it was the last piece that dropped in was that I also wanted to give people a place to reflect, to
Oh,
like
yeah.
read and reflect and write. So there are images in the book, and then there's also some writing prompts and space to write. So there's also some like pages that are just like blank with lines and
Fine page.
yeah, like that one and have writing and the sort of thread that sewed it up all up together. That went a little bit beyond just here is a book of nice pictures you can color was
Hmm.
so I w realized I was drawing pictures of female bodies of the feminine form.
Ladies.
There is a lot to unpack around that for most of us. And so I really wanted to give people a place to explore like feminine energy and feminine bodies and reflect on that a little bit more. So it took a little more shape than than just a straight coloring book.
Mm,
And yeah, I'm just flipping through. Okay, so the water lady is first. She is front and center.
mm.
And then let's see.
I love that you were keeping in mind like how your audience, whoever's experiencing this, like how they can really enter the work, like to make it really accessible and give them space to explore as well within that. I think that's such a huge piece of if we're sharing our work, like what is the entry point for the people we're sharing it with?
Mm-hmm.
So I love
And
that.
also it's choose your own adventure. Like if you're just here to color, then just color.
Yes.
You know, I gave one of these to my daughters and they just used it like a coloring book. But
Oh,
so this one came up as maybe we'll share this one. This was
yes.
she's got her hand to her heart there and um lots of swirly hair. That's a theme you'll notice in all of my artwork.
Same. I love that one. Hmm.
And let me see if she had okay, there's no prompt in that section, but and then this one is a lot like darker. Like she's got a blindfold on and there's like flames coming out of her mouth or however you interpret that. So there's a wide variety of themes and energies and
Mm. Yeah. No, it's the whole experience of the feminine energy, right? But this I have to show you this one that I have open that I love that one.
So what just I was reminded of when you held that up is that some of them had names, like they would
Oh.
tell me their names, and that one I always referred to as the Empress.
Mm.
Now, it's not in the book, like you wouldn't, it's not written down anywhere. They just had like names in my head. Not all of them, some of them didn't, but
Oh.
she had some Empress energy.
And then this is the last one I just remembered as well. That we're letting people download a sample page, right, to color. And
Hmm.
so this is the one I picked. Do you think this is a good one for people to download?
Oh, yeah.
This one feels like sovereign queen
Yes,
and
a
a
very
true.
queen energy in that one.
Yes.
Hmm.
And yeah, this diamond actually comes up for me a lot too. I recently made God's eyes with the fit kids and
Hmm.
just that diamond shape is I just love all of that. It's like it's almost like what, we express our truth, we express our creativity until it's embodied, which is a lifelong journey. But then it's almost like we don't even have to speak. It's just the way we show up. It's the energy we bring. It's who we are. And that's why I picked this one because it's like feels like the other side of breaking through those blocks and expressing ourselves. It's like we get to become this new version of ourselves, like a more true version of who we are.
Yeah, I love that you were drawn to that one.
Yeah, I'm like, I think I'm gonna color this one myself at some point this week.
Please do.
Yeah, and so just a couple more questions. This is a complete project. Getting to that complete place is very difficult. That like 99% to 100. What made it possible for you to actually finish this project?
Yeah, that's such
Okay.
an important question because completion is so challenging. And like there's a big difference between 99% complete and 100% complete. And that last 1% is like the Grand Canyon, right? It's like that's the scariest part of the project. And um, first of all, I just like I know beyond any doubt that I would absolutely not have ever completed this project, and possibly I would not even have started it if I wasn't in a circle of support at the time. I was like, thank goodness. And I was in a circle of creatives that included you, with a mentor supporting us. And I think so often we don't think we need that piece.
Mhm.
What I have experienced over and over again is that I absolutely need that piece.
Yeah.
Either like writing and art making, it can feel like a very solitary act. And in some parts of it are, for sure. Like it's just us and our insides, for sure. And I think culturally we have this like myth of like like the Henry David Thoreau's of the like go into the woods and write your book kind of
Right.
we like romanticize that like solitary artist, but I actually think that most of us create our art with witness and with support and like I already shared the story of, a mentor saying like, what if you didn't quit? What if you just, what if it just looked different? And I probably wouldn't have gotten past that point if I had been, doing this on my own. And after I completed the book, I remember this part too, I'll share this part of the story. I found a website that was like a print your own book, kind of upload your pictures and print your own book. Super easy to use. And I was like, oh, I'll do that. And I just printed one. It was like a prototype, like one copy. And I was like, I did it. I'm finished. Like, look at my book. It's so pretty. I'm gonna put it on my shelf. And in that circle, people were like, wait, Amy. Like, you don't think you're done. And it was you, Stacey Maney, who said to me, Amy, you can self-publish through Amazon. It's not that hard. And I didn't know
Not
that.
that hard.
I just assumed it was hard because it sounds hard. Um, and I was like, I can. I like that had never that wasn't even in my like realm of understanding that. And suddenly it became actually this is something you could share with other people.
Mm,
And this is something you could earn some money, like you could earn some income from
right.
this.
Yeah.
And it was like that was a whole never another like door opening. Because I had shared my art, but at that point I don't think I had sold my art. So
Hmm.
that was a really big threshold to cross. Like when you
Wow.
hit that point where when you've just been making art like for yourself and
Right.
suddenly like it's one big threshold when you decide to share your art with others, that's a really big threshold to cross as a creative.
Sure is.
And then
Yeah.
when you decide like maybe you want to earn some income from your art, that's another threshold like to cross as a creative. So then I had to do the tech part, which is the part I have a lot of resistance to.
Mm,
But I was, I would come so far and it was like another one of those moments when you're like, okay, this might be hard. I can
right.
stop here or I can keep going. And
Yes.
if it weren't for, again, my circle of support and my creative community encouraging me to see it all the way through to
Yes.
completion, I
Mm,
probably wouldn't have.
yeah. Yeah. So how does it feel to be on the other side of those thresholds with this coloring book and
It is, yeah, that completion energy is amazing. It really is. It's such a, when you take a piece of something all the way through from a vision
hmm
to an all the way completed project. And every project isn't something that you need to sell, and every project isn't something you need to share, but when a project has reached its own point of completion. And um, there's something, I think it's really deeply connected to like self-trust. Like once you
hmm
take a project all the way from a vision to a tangible, completed thing, you get to be like now you are the person who like now you're a person who does that. Like I'm a person who completes things.
Yes, that gives me
I'm a
chills.
person who puts my art into the world. Like that's who I am now. So every time you complete, it's like you get to upgrade your identity of who you
Yes.
are now.
Yes. And that trust muscle, there's like a muscle, right? The trust muscle.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
I totally agree. Like, I don't think I could have made this book until this point, until like other projects I did to like start developing that trust muscle. And th this is, like I said before, definitely the most I've ever leaned into that trust. It was like, I think a book is such a big thing to a big undertaking. Like, you have no choice but to trust and surrender.
Yeah. Lots of
And
surrender.
yes. And yeah, like just trust your intuition and that there is a final structure and that the vision gets to be completed. Like you get to be that person to do that. Um, and yeah, like what's possible after that now that you are this person who finishes a project. So I love all of that.
Yeah,
Uh,
and then next time you have a vision, like you get to say, I'm a person who takes my visions all the way to completion.
yes, yes. I need those like mantras on cards.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Do you want to talk about your free gift that feels very connected to all of this? Uh,
Yeah. So my free gift today is the other thing I have written and published, which is a small ebook. It's called Creating from the Neck Down, Get Out of Your Head and Make Art from Your Heart. It's a quick read. It's an ebook. Published it myself again, and I'm super proud of it. I think it's a great, if you are whatever kind of creativity you practice, if you just need a quick and simple method for dropping into the body and getting out of like the logic, that logic brain we were talking about and dropping into the intuition and into the body. And then like so you can then create from that place, then I think it's a great little guide to how to do that.
I love that. Yeah, because that shift from when you go into the body to create, it's a whole different world of possibilities.
Yeah, that's right.
Ah, I love that. Okay, and then I feel like you just gave so much advice, so much wisdom. Is there any final advice you want to give anyone who's, I don't know, who's like, has a body of work they're working on and is ready to start maybe making a book or a bigger creative vision? What advice would you share with them?
think the thing that I always come back to is you don't have to know the ending to begin. Like you
Mm,
don't have to have all the steps mapped out. You don't need to know exactly what it's going to look like. We get really caught up in the how, like how am I going to publish this? How am I going to get this out to people? Like don't let that be the reason why you don't start. Those pieces can come later. You can, like follow that trail one step at a time. Um, just get it started, start making your art, and the rest will fall into place in time.
yes, that's beautiful. Yeah. Okay, well, thank you so much for joining. I was thinking as you were talking, I will share links we'll have the coloring page download, we'll have the gift, and also our other two conversations where we talk about creativity and crisis, and
Oh
then
yeah, that'd be fun.
yeah, that's that's a good one.
That's
And then also you lead us through a rooted in love drawing. So I'll have links for those as well. So if people want to go deeper with you and what you're bringing forward, they have those options as well. Yeah, so thank
Thank you
you.
so much for having me, Stacy. Always a joy to be with you.
Oh my goodness, yes. And just wishing all of you the best as you start taking those baby steps to bring your dream into this reality and just notice how it might already be in your reality right now. As I was coloring the page we chose from Aimee's book, I realized there was the perfect open space within the throat in her drawing. I invite you, as you work with this image, to draw an image, symbol, or words in that space that will support you as you claim, reconnect to, and express your voice. This conversation is part of the Write from the Heart retreat that I designed for the release of my new book, Rose Unfolding. You can click the links in the description below to sign up for the retreat and learn more about my new book. When you purchase the book, you'll get free access to the retreat, a meditation to activate your voice, and a playlist to support you and your voice in your next level of expression.